Yeah, thanks for staying with us. We now commence our second discussion this morning, which is on energy policy and governance. And we have our guest who is joining us from our Lagos studio. That is in the person of Dr. Muda Yusuf. He's the Chief Executive Officer, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise and former DG Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Dr. Muda Yusuf, good morning and welcome to the program. Lagos Chamber.
Morning. Thanks for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
Claire.
All right, Dr. Yusuf, thank you very much for joining us. Let's quickly get into, the conversation. And I know you know also that within the past few months, we've seen Dangote Refinery roll out initiatives from, reduction in the prices of petroleum products to rolling out of CNG trucks and investment of over 720 billion naira in CNG powered truck distribution. I'm just wondering what is happening, from your perspective and your position. What exactly is happening? Are we supposed to be jubilating?
Of course, these are some of the positive outcomes of the current reforms in the energy sector, particularly in the petroleum downstream sector. And this is also a demonstration of the kind of value that the private sector can bring to the economy if we create the right kind of environment. The deregulation of the downstream sector has created enormous incentives for private investment in the downstream sector. And that is part of the result of what we are seeing. The whole initiative by the Dangote Refinery is to ensure that we have better access to petroleum products, is to ensure that we have efficiency in the distribution. It's also to ensure that we have an inclusive framework. Because if you look at that sector, logistics is extremely very, very critical. And in an economy where you don't have a functioning rail system, your transportation system by road transportation has to be reliable, it has to be safe, it has to be efficient, it has to be cost effective. So the beauty of what is happening with the Dangote Refinery, and we hope that other players in the economy will also emulate this, is to adopt a model that will bring down the cost of logistics. Because cost of logistics is a major driver of inflation across all sectors, not just in the petroleum sector. So that is why it's a very commendable thing that we are seeing this idea of CNG trucks, which will bring down significantly the cost of logistics. And the another very important thing is that for most of the players in that ecosystem, I'm talking about petroleum marketing, and many of them are small scale, small SMEs. They are small business people. They don't have the capacity on their own to be able to buy these trucks. To buy a truck now, a tanker of maybe 30 or 35,000 liters capacity, you'll be talking about nothing less than 100 million. So how many of them can buy that for the purposes of lifting products and all of that? And this is a very vast country. So this model is extremely very, very beneficial. It's going to, ensure that the cost of logistics comes down, and hopefully this will also translate into lower costs. And this will also enable a lot more small businesses, to be effectively part of the distribution chain. So it's a very commendable thing. Then from the point of view of safety, some of the worst road accidents we have had in this country has been with all these petrol tankers. They have caused horrific, damages to lives and to property. And the reason is that most of these trucks are not particularly roadworthy. most of the owners are struggling to keep them on the road. So there's also the issue of safety. With the kind of initiative that is coming from the Dangote refinery, we are going to be assured of better safety in terms of standards, apart from even the reduction in cost. So there's a whole lot of advantages in this approach, and my appeal is that those in the industry should work collaboratively so that we can see a replication of this model, to ensure a more efficient product distribution across the country.
A whole lot of advantages in this initiative. The Dangote's plan to bypass traditional fuel distribution, that is the distribution by the middlemen, and offer credit directly to retailers, is being seen as being very disruptive, especially to those who are already in the market. Do you believe that this level of vertical integration could help strengthen or threatens Nigeria's competitive market environment? Nigeria's competitive.
I don't think so. First of all, let me say that this business model is not new. If you look at the cement industry, if you buy cement, maybe you are buying a truck, whether from all the key players, whether it is Boa, whether it's Dangote, whether it's Lafarge, they have facility to deliver it to you using their own logistics arrangements. They deliver cement to their dealers. I mean, we see all these trucks all over the country. So there's nothing new here. Even with those who are in the beverage industry, the soft drink producers, when you order, they have their own trucks through which they deliver to their dealers. The same thing with those in the brewery industry. The same thing with those who are in the flour milling industry, in sugar industry. These are things we see all over there. So there's nothing new about internalizing your logistics arrangement into your supply chain. It's to ensure efficiency even of the business itself. So in any business, of course, disruption is not new. What is important is for us to adjust to whatever kind of disruption that is happening in the system. The fact that you have something who is bringing a higher level of efficiency into a system is positive disruption. And from what I've heard, at least from the statement I read publicly from the Dangote refinery, they are ready to partner with all those who are players in that ecosystem. Whether they are marketers, whether they are dealers and all of them, there is opportunity for partnership. And in any way, or in any case, it's even better for them, for most of them. If you have an arrangement where the producer of the item has offered to deliver to you as a distributor, as a dealer, is that not value addition to the business? For me, I think this is a very good development. It's not anything new. It's something that has been happening around many of the industries up until now. Even in the petroleum distribution sector, most of the major marketers have their own trucks through which they deliver to their various dealers and sub-dealers across the country. So there is nothing new here. What is new here is that the level of efficiency is being elevated by the use of the CNG, by bringing in more vehicles and all of that to bring down the cost and to reach out to a lot more people. And there's also the element of price equalization, which is to the benefit of consumers. Because with this arrangement, it will be possible at least to ensure that we have price equalization across the country, so that the locations or the states or the cities that are very far away from the sources of production will not suffer the disadvantage of being geographically far away. So that is also a major advantage. And in any case, The best way to support the ordinary people or the consumers is to ensure that we have more competition. This is a question of more competition. This is a question of increasing efficiency to bring down the cost. So the narrative that is going to, cause disruption or do all of what, even if there's a disruption, it's a positive disruption.
All right, Dr. Yusuf, thank you. And just I think it was last night. The news broke on the internet.
He's still talking.
Okay.
Media, disruption that has taken place. So this disruption is also part of evolution generally in any economy. What is important is for all players to be able to tweak their business strategy to cope with evolving developments in the sector. What is happening for me is a very positive thing.
Again, that it is a sector that has been deregulated. Dr. Yusuf, thank you. But let's look at how maybe, companies or industrialists like Dangote can be supported in terms of policing and all that. Just last night, I think we read on, via online that, the price of PMS has also been reduced immediately from 840 to 820 per litre. And, Dangote Refinery has passed all international and, standards and practices that have also been confirmed by delegates from Harvard, we hear. Unfortunately, Dangote said it is, still importing, I think 19.2 million barrels of WTI crude oil, just because companies that are oil companies in Nigeria have refused to, sell directly to it. So how can, a Dangote who is helping to shift, bring a parallel shift in the downstream sector, how can it be helped in terms of policy?
See, the conversation should be broader than Dangote, because I don't want this conversation to be as if it's only about Dangote. This is about industrialization. This is about energy security. This is about self-reliance. This is about conservation of foreign exchange. This is about job creation. So the fundamental principle is to develop our economy to be more energy secure, to be more self-reliant, and to import less of petroleum products. That is the general principle. It is Dangote now. Other players are also free to come on board, and I know that quite a number of refineries are also trying to come on board. And we have government's-owned refineries too, which have been moribund for over a decade. So the focus of policy should be about industrialization. It should be about minimizing importation. It should be about conserving foreign exchange. It should be about job creation. It should be about backward integration. That is what this whole philosophy is all about. It could be Dangote, it could be any other industry. And this principle should cut across the whole spectrum of products, not just only petroleum products. So the policy instruments should be activated to support any industrialization, anything that will make us a lot more self-sufficient. Whether it is in pharmaceutical, whether it is in agriculture, whether it is in petroleum products, whatever sector it is. So we must make sure that our policy levers are activated. Fiscal policy, monetary policy, trade policy. All our policy instruments must be calibrated in a way to support industrialization. That is what should also apply to the Dangote industry. If you have a way to scale up, provision of crude, and the government has been magnanimous, at least to a large extent, to allow for this naira for crude arrangements for the Dangote industry, and which other, whatever other domestic refineries we have. You know? So to be able to buy crude and pay in naira, that is also a very good development. And the oil companies have been provided also to the extent of their capacity. Because don't forget, for many of these, our crude production, first, it's a joint venture. Second, there's a lot of forward sales that has been committed. You know, to be able to raise funds to invest in all this turnaround maintenance and all of these issues, which are not particularly so transparent. So there's a lot of commitment already. I think that must be a factor that has been impeding, you know, adequacy of supply. So I think to the extent that they have capacity, it's a good thing that we have domestic crude made available to Dangote industry, to any other refineries that is available in the country. That will help to scale up domestic production. At this point, as an oil-producing country, we should be exporting not just crude. We should be exporting refined products. That is the way it should be. Value addition. And the good news is that Dangote has even been doing that. The Dangote refinery has been exporting petroleum products, particularly Jet A1, diesel, and the rest of, to Europe, to United States, to Saudi Arabia. That is good for our country. That is the kind of capacity that we should support, both for Dangote and for any other industry. Because this is about industrialization. So for me, these are the things we need to do. Our trade policy must be calibrated to support industrialization. That is already happening, because if you look at some, you know, sectors like maybe the pharmaceuticals, there are some pharmaceutical products that you cannot easily import into the country because we have sufficient capacity. And there are also other industries where they enjoy fiscal policy protection. That should also happen to those who are in refineries. You cannot have a refinery that's as big as it, that we have self-sufficiency, and yet we still have all this importation of petroleum products. I mean, we should do something to encourage people who are investing in industries, in manufacturing. So there's a trade policy component to support industrialization. There's a monetary policy component to support industrialization in terms of financing, cost of fund, and all of that. Then there's also a tax policy component to support industrialization. These are policy instruments that we can use, deploy to support the development of an economy, particularly the real sector of the economy. Because the real sector of the economy is what can ensure sustainability, is what can ensure resilience of an economy, security across all sectors, economic security. So that is what should happen in terms of the policy framework to support both the refineries and other industries in the economy.
We've heard you. Thank you so much. The trade policy should be tailored to support industrialization of the economy. In your view, what should be the priority action points for the federal government, you know, to further amplify the impact of such private investment, particularly in terms of infrastructure renewal, regulatory reform, or incentive mechanism, so that other players in the refining and logistics space can take advantage of it?
I will go back to what I said, because incentives is about policy. Not many people can take the kind of risk. Sorry that I'm going back to Dangote again. And it's because of the size of that investment. Not many investors can take the kind of risk that has been taken. $20 billion. No foreign investor will do that for an African country. So for both Dangote and other domestic industries, whether in refineries or in other manufacturing products, we have to be very deliberate in ensuring adequate protection. I'm talking about fiscal policy protection. If there is proven capacity to meet local demand, we should not be allowing importation. If we are allowing importation, we should have the tariff to protect the industries. I say this because manufacturing in Nigeria is a lot more challenging. So if you are exposing those who are manufacturing to importation to be competing with imported products from China and the rest of them, that is not fair competition. Because here you are contending with a lot of structural issues, a lot of structural challenges that is escalating your cost of production. So that is the logic of ensuring adequate policy protection from a trade policy point of view. So that is very, very critical. Because I've heard people talk about competition and all of that. If people want to compete, let them come and set up industries here. Let them set up refineries here. We have 4 refineries owned by NNPC. Let them activate them to be able to compete. Other people too can invest. But when you go and import and say you want competition, that is not fair competition with due respect. Because the playing field is not the same thing. So the trade policy approach is one very fundamental approach to support domestic production across all sectors. Then
we appreciate your contribution and the perspectives you have brought to this conversation, and we do hope that the necessary support will be given. Dr. Muda Yusuf, Chief Executive Officer, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise and former DG, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you. And that's it on Good Morning Nigeria for today. It's been quite an interesting one. We thank you for watching. I am Claire Adelabu.
And I'm Ademola Adeye. Thanks for joining us. See you again tomorrow.